of misfits I ever said either.
Good morning, Misfits. You are tuning into yet another special edition Misfit podcast, the Misfit affiliate Arkham Phase, phase one of, what we refer to internally as the 2026 season is live now. Before you listen to the podcast, if you are not a subscriber to the programming yet, you can head to teammisfit.com, click on sign up now, and then you have your choice of a 2-week free trial on Sugar WOD, StreamFit, or Push Press. If you would like a PDF version, I've got the new Arkham 2-week with the engine program added to it. If you would like that version, the PDF version, feel free to email me, coach@misfitathletics.com, and I can get that over to you. Yeah, so this podcast, basically, if you're new to the program, if you're new to listening to these, the idea is to get people excited about the new phase, whether that's yourself, your coaches, your athletes, dig into the nitty gritty for those who are interested in it, talk to you a little bit about how the progressions work from phase to phase, maybe some coaching tips built in the way that we would think about it out on the floor. And then I am the one who writes the competitor extra. So one of the things that I have for this podcast is maybe some extra kind of competitors in your class, the nuggets that you can give them on this stuff to help them improve. As always, we will start the podcast with housekeeping and live chat. Housekeeping is very straightforward. Just told you guys how to get started on Misfit Affiliate. We also have phase one of Misfit Athletics individual programming for professionals, for your open athletes, age group athletes, all that good stuff. For all of our programs, honestly, head to the link in bio on our Instagram. They're kind of broken out so you can decide where you want to go and get them, which program you want to do, all that good stuff. All right, Hunter. What's up?
My car door broke.
Your car door broke and you had to run 800s?
Yeah, in the same fucking day. No, I got in my car this morning, drove over to the dumpster to throw out my trash, and I go to open my car door from the inside, driver's side, and the handle just there's no tension. There's no slack. So either the cable that connects from the door handle to the door locking, door opening mechanism came off or broke off. And I called the local repair shop, the new one right down Riverside Street. I take it to the Scarborough VIP usually.
Yeah.
And they just opened this one, and I called them asking about it, and I was like, this is I'm almost certain this is what's wrong. Is this something that is a relatively quick fix? Can you do that quickly? And the dude was like, yeah, we can bring it in. It'll be $170 to diagnose the problem, and then we'll see what we can do to fix it. And I'm like, what the fuck did you just say to me? 100, I'm telling you what the problem is. Right. Here's the problem. And it's and he's just yeah, well, I got to pay my guys and stuff. And I'm thank you for explaining
Any
to
of
me
those chain
how
places
labor
like
works.
That have shit like that.
Well, I've taken it to the one near me, and I've had small shit like that. They'll look at it and be like, yeah, this is what it is, and then I'll pay for the repair. Motherfucker,
Sure.
$170 to diagnose the handle.
Yeah.
It's gonna take
Send
you
him a video of you pulling on it.
Yeah, diagnosed. You
Reconnect
chicken
it.
fucker. God damn it. Reconnect that bitch. Get a new cable.
Yep.
Yeah, the short story long is that I'm now about to determine how good of a mechanic I would have been.
Yeah, dude.
Fix that shit myself, so get fucked.
Oh,
chain.
yeah. Let's rip that
chain
baby
stores.
open. I love dismantling.
It'll be just my luck.
things.
I will not be able to put that door back on. I'll be riding a Mazda Jeep for the next fucking 6 months.
Luckily, someone in the gym will know how to put that baby back on.
My pride is too big to ask somebody else before that, because I can also think of 3 or 4 people who are I could figure it out. I'm motherfucker, I could figure it out. I'm asking for someone who knows what they're doing. But
yeah, unfortunately, I'm in the former category.
Me too.
Do I know how? Absolutely not.
I got YouTube and a brain housing unit that works 50% of the time every time. So
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I still suck at golf. That's all.
Huh? Yeah. I got back last night from Phoenix. Went to World Fitness Project with Paige, and then Elena from CrossFit Raid, who follows the programming, did the Challenger division as well. She had a really, really good time there, which was cool. Kind of the type of thing where you go to that level of competition to see if you belong, and then you feel like you belong, so you get that extra level of motivation coming out of it. So that was really cool to see. I had probably the smoothest travel in like years. There absolutely nothing was annoying or went wrong at any point. Like overhead space was like right in front of my seat every single time. I prepaid for a rental car from the wrong airport, and I called Chase and they were like, we'll call budget and like fix this for you. And within minutes they were like, yeah, just go pick one up at Phoenix Airport instead of Mesa. And I was like, hell yeah. This is just way too easy.
Yeah, you're fucked.
I don't know what's
Next
about
time
to happen to me. But yeah, so that was a good trip. It was fun. Ryan was with us, did the media, felt a little bit like getting the band back together.
Nice.
Good hang with Ryan and Paige. And then whether we talk about it at length or have Paige on, she looked like herself again, which was really cool to see.
Nice.
And I'll give the only anecdote that I'll give before the longer version is the attitude of, holy shit, these girls are so fast, like who she's competing against. And the response to that realization was, I just need to go faster, instead of, no, these girls are so fast.
Yeah.
Like she's just got that little bit of that like kind of competitor's grin of like, all right, here we go. Like, especially machines. On the machines, you're looking at 10 seconds faster per 500 that you'd go in training.
Jesus.
You're looking at, that 5-round workout with 24 cals on the biker, a lot of 1,200, 1,300 cals per hour on the women's side, and not a long workout, like medium to long type of workout. And I know there's a lot of, you're probably not privy to any of it, but there's a lot of drama, just the like CrossFit versus WFP stuff, which is probably predictable. And the one thing that I'll say kind of unequivocally, because I don't really care to pick sides, is the level of competition there is crazy.
Yeah.
Like,
I was just looking
I
at
think
the
so many
names on the
athletes are,
leaderboard.
so many athletes are used to, okay, I do the open, I do quarterfinals, I do semifinals, and each step of the way, it's a little bit more challenging.
Yeah.
But like a games athlete going to semifinals, like something would have to go really wrong for them to fall outside of the top 10, let alone the top 5. And then it's basically the games for the most part.
Yeah, there's like 3 names on this list that I don't know. And then you see like BKG and Yonakoski in like the bottom five places. It's like, that's insane.
there's a passing of the torch currently taking place in the sport.
Yeah.
That's for damn sure. So for me, in terms of progression of everything, having them compete against each other more often, I think would create faster progressions and adaptations. Like one of the things that was kind of the talk of the like warm-up area and with the coaches was there was one athlete on the men's side and one athlete on the women's side that could pirouette while moving forward. And the video of Victor Hoffer in slow-mo is fucking insane. He's doing a 180 forward. So he turns and where his hand goes is however many feet apart forward. And then his body rotates another 180 degrees and he puts his hand there. So he's literally rotating forward through space. He does not stop and do a pirouette. He spins on his hand, basically, would be a good way to put it, while moving forward. And it's just like, okay, not only, that's not really just a parlor trick, because his time under tension was like a quarter of the other people. So like, it really is like actual fatigue and, muscle fatigue and breathing and all that. So that was pretty crazy to watch. And I just think things like that, where you see an athlete that can blast through a particular movement or set or do something at a certain pace, has the, sort of progresses everything faster. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Some good events.
Yeah, my only complaint would be it was a bit of a kitchen sink. It was a bit of like, there was every machine.
Everything.
And yeah, there were 2 5-rounders. There was a lot of workouts that had, it didn't have like there wasn't much of the like couplet triplet vibe, like that kind of thing.
A lot of chippers, 5 movements or 4 movements per event.
Exactly. Yeah. So there was a lot of that. It definitely favored, one thing that was funny was it definitely favored a aerobically inclined athlete because the top heats were worse in the heavy events. Like the top heat of 1 rep max clean was like
interesting,
like very low. And then what was the other one towards the end? Some of the athletes moving the power snatching 155 on the women's side and then clean and jerking 155. It was clear that they had positioned themselves over the course of the weekend a little bit better because of their like more like GPP, that kind of thing.
Crazy 2 mile run times. I saw 12:06 and I was like, that's not crazy. And then it was like Laura Horvath, respectfully to Laura, but like, Jesus Christ,
she's a great
fucking
runner.
Fast women.
Yes, correct. You see the men?
Yeah. Then I toggled over. I was like, yeah, 11.
The difference with the men was not only obviously the times, but how close they were together. The women weren't as close together. There were really big gaps in the women 1 through 10.
10:48, Ricky. That's nuts.
So the men's was cool. Ricky and Yella ran together, basically.
Yep.
And Yella did he got like double crossed, basically. He did his final kick, which Ricky was waiting for on purpose. Yeah. And then Ricky ran on his hip when he tried to pass him. And then when they got really close, he knows he's a faster sprinter and he just fucking blasted by him.
Wow.
So he led knowing that at some point Yellow was going to sprint. And then he just stayed on his hip and ran past him. And I don't know, like, I think he won. I think they're probably like 1 and 1A in terms of what they could do. But I think he won based on tactic and strategy.
A little smarter.
Yep.
I mean, only 4 seconds is hardly about 20% strategy, 80% fitness.
Right. And the only thing that I heard from the athletes that were like roughly 10th place that they were pissed about is they got too far behind and couldn't catch up. So they didn't feel like, they felt like they should have started hotter, even though like you shouldn't, basically.
But complaints like not about the event, just like about how
No. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They just felt like I had a little bit more in the tank, but when you look and see someone 200 meters away, like what the fuck are you going to do about that? Like that kind of thing. So it's like, okay, how much do you ride the fucking lightning? But then in the other sense, like Laura was one of the ones who started towards the back and literally passed almost everyone. So it's, it's possible, but like spreading out your final kick over a mile.
Was this outdoor on a track, on a runner?
No, so it started on the road and then went on to turf and then came back through the complex, which I think is like maybe concrete or something like that. The athletes did say the turf was weird. It felt more like the air runner, like they had to like pull with their hamstring more. And then quite a few of them said their calves were really sore because it's like bouncy. It's the stuff with the crumb rubber in it.
Yeah. What was the drama with what fucking happened to all the equipment? Her GHDs fucking snapped in half. Bikes
the
started riding
GHD,
themselves.
the foot pad slid off the end. It wasn't tightened all the way. And they supposedly walk around and check all of the knobs.
Yeah.
And it was tight, but it hadn't clicked into the hole. So
That'll
he
do
fell off that and hurt his beanbag. And then when he won the clean, grabbed his beanbag. Also, I think, go to the clean. Is it 8 guys that clean 400?
Don't say that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5. And then the next 3 were 392. Fuck. You took 8th.
Well, some of them were in Challenger. That's right. Yeah. I think there were 7 potentially.
8th plate. I mean, this says pro. But yeah, 407, 407, 405, 400, 400, 395. Jesus Christ.
No, that's not because Hatfield was 422. So there's more than that. Did you sort by the event?
Yeah. Hatfield. Oh, holy fuck.
He was 430.
I scrolled. 430. Yeah. Yikes, I just missed 2.
Yeah.
430, 422, 407, 407, 405, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Wow.
How fucking crazy is that? And we were talking about Bridges not being able to pick up 405 at regionals.
Oh my God.
Talk about progression.
That's insane.
I did not know Hatfield could do that. He's like a classic CrossFit guy. Like blasts the couplets and triplets. That's pretty fucking crazy.
Any 300-pound female cleans? That's not a
80 something.
282. Kyra Milligan and Annika Greer.
Yeah.
Hannah Black 270. Good fucking lord. They out cleaned me from this week. I would have taken like 10th place
Yeah, Paige was like
women's
15th with 247.
That's insane. 14th. All right, well, got out of fitness at the right time.
Yeah.
2014.
So,
All right, well,
talk
good
about
experience, though. Yep.
Arkham? Yeah. Yep, good experience. All right, Arkham. So we started naming, if you didn't know, from the last few phases, we started naming the Misfit affiliate phases. I love a narrative. I like the idea of people rallying around an idea. This is technically phase 1, and there is the scene from, I think it's Dark Knight, not Dark Knight Rises, I don't know, where the Joker says, "Here we go." And the Joker, if you are familiar with like the actual comic book and stuff, has definitely spent some time, probably intentionally, inside of Arkham Insane Asylums. Cool imagery. Again, the idea of restarting, digging into things. And there's definitely, as we talk through this stuff, some pieces of what the movements are that will connect. So the way that we'll do this is we'll go through each bias for the phase, and we almost always bury the lead on this. What we are talking about makes up about 20% of the programming, whereas the other 80% is couplets and triplets and heavy lifts and all the, monostructural conditioning, all the good stuff. But again, talking about liking a narrative, I do like, okay, this is the phase where we're going to work on these things, not only because it gets buy-in, but it also helps you wrap your mind around how powerful GPP is. Like if I go into this phase and 80% of the work is just kind of putting my head down, lifting weights, running, rowing, pull-ups, this weighted movement, that weighted movement, and I only do the bias, sort of once a week as I'm working through this, and those things increase at the level that they do, you can understand how GPP works. Whereas if you did all of the biases on their own and then did nothing else on those other, say, 4 days, 3 days, you wouldn't see the same thing. You wouldn't see, anywhere near that. And I love the idea of selling GPP to affiliate owners, coaches, members, understanding that the thing that we do that moves the needle is the stuff that fills in the cracks that you might not notice if you're not kind of obsessed with programming and nerding out on that stuff, but it's really what moves the needle. And all of these categories that we're talking about are just sort of pieces of foundation that we use.
Yeah, and I think like I would say a conversation that a coach and owner, myself, like I've had these conversations with members a lot of times, is like, one, you have to, as a coach, especially if you're not writing your own programming, have to be able to like speak to the program, and not even to the program necessarily, but kind of understand where an athlete's coming from. And we get a lot of times I get questions from an athlete. It's like, well, like, hey, we're focusing on X, Y, or Z. Why don't we do it more? Like, we're focusing on the squat clean. Why aren't we doing a squat clean? Why aren't we doing squat clean twice a week? Or why isn't the lifting day every week the squat clean? And it's a fair question. And my usual answer to something like that is I'll turn it around and be like, how many times were you in the gym in the last 3 weeks? It's like, well, I was, usually I'm like a 4-day-a-week kind of guy, but then, I was on vacation. It was Labor Day, so I was like out of town with the family. And like the week before that, I missed a day because of, my kid got sick, so I had to take him to school and I couldn't come into the gym. And it's like that's why. Part of the reason that the program works so well is because, like you alluded to, like these biases and whatnot only account for about 20% of the program, because unless you are, we have to remember the program is for the average everyday person, the general physical preparedness. I don't need you to be squat cleaning 3 days a week as if you're preparing for a weightlifting meet, because you're not. So having the bias where like we can focus on something once a week, and for those athletes who are able to be super consistent with their attendance, they're going to be able to see, at least maybe connect the dots from week to week and see where the progressions are. And you as the coach can obviously explain that to the members. But for everybody else who maybe doesn't have the luxury of a ultra consistent schedule, like just getting in the gym those 3 to 5, hopefully 3 to 5 days a week is going to move the needle on your fitness, assuming that you come in here and, put your head down and work. So I think being able to answer those questions to your members about like, the progressions and stuff like that, and hearing these podcasts can really help get that buy-in from the athletes.
And another sort of peek behind the curtain here, I come from more of the world where we would be doing say squat cleans twice every week with a competitor, and there is an expectation of like 6 days a week of work, and
Yeah, for
it's
sure.
on you if it doesn't work that way. So what's cool is Hunter and I will have these conversations about what we've learned from certain things, how we're going to make the program better. And I would be more on the side of let's squat clean every week. And Hunter would be more on the side of like really making sure the GPP's there. And where we come back together in the middle is what actually works. That wins for sure. So if I have the idea in my head that it's not going to work as well, and then it works even better, that again brings us all the way back around to GPP. And I would say that this style, which we're about to explain if you're new, it literally just works better. So aside from your schedule, if we are trying to move the needle in all of these different areas, like each thing that you're doing that's either a bias or not is borrowing like some of your energy to help you potentially lose weight so that you can get into a better position. We're working on your midline so that you can actually brace. We're working on your shoulder mobility so you can get in the front rack. You might have leg endurance and not power, so we're going to develop power in different ways. You might have, it's just vice versa, all this different stuff. So it's not just that we have to figure out this world where someone's going to come 3 or 4 times a week and we have a 60-minute class. It's also what actually works, right? Like we get these, screenshots from gyms of their whiteboard and their PRs, and like they're getting more PRs on their back squat than we would in a competitor program where the person's doing it 2 or 3 times a week. And that's because we can make everything kind of rise up together. So our heavy days, as we refer to them in the program, is front squat and squat clean. And the retest at the end of the 7 weeks, which I believe is like maybe beginning or middle of October roughly, will be the front squat.
13th is the 1 rep max front squat day.
And the progression that we've taken you through is we started off summer 1 with the deadlift, and then we went into biasing the back squat. And now we are combining a pull from the floor and a squat to give you the clean while also working on the front squat.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I don't know, I'm not naive enough to think that like all this, like, that looks really good on paper. It's like, we're going to pull from the floor, we're going to get really strong pullers, and then we're going to squat, and then we're going to get really strong legs, and then like you pull from the floor and you squat, so it's like a better squat clean. It's like, it kind of works that way, but like not like perfectly, right? It looks great on paper. I think that like what we saw at the end of last phase, we saw a lot of back squat PRs at our gym here. And then we saw come like this past Monday, Labor Day, we had a lot of folks come in and do their squat clean and either hit a PR, more likely just hit numbers that they haven't hit in a long time. And I think more like what this does is like, it's not so much that it's like this perfect progression into peaking a squat clean. It's just this type of progression makes sense for, again, maintaining like GPP all year round. It's like, okay, we haven't done a super heavy
like
squat
GPP
clean
for
in
strength,
a couple
basically.
months. Yeah, exactly. So it's like, we're not necessarily like in this, this wasn't a 15 plus 7, 22 week progression to PR your squat clean. It was like keeping these things in the rotation consistently. And then like we alluded to, you're not going to squat clean every week. You're going to squat clean and or front squat in some capacity. And then you're still going to do another GPP heavy day. So, and what I mean by that is just like there are heavy days that are not a squat clean or a front squat. For week 2, for example, we actually go back to a deadlift. Week 4, let's see, we have a bench press as a heavy day mixed with some other stuff. So it's not this exact beautiful, it looks great on paper. I understand that's not how it shakes out, as far as peaking that specific lift, but it does work really well as far as maintaining kind of like strength GPP, so to speak.
Yeah, and what I think is important here is when you trend from least technical to most technical, you need every step along that trajectory, you need more and more practice. So you'll actually notice that athletes are probably better at front squatting from working on their midline in the deadlift and doing the back squat, even though you would think, again, like you said, maybe the pull and the squat, yay, now I can squat clean. It's pulling from the floor, then squatting, and then squat cleaning. That's going to get you that full progression. You have to sort of reach the end of all of that. I would say from a programming standpoint in the affiliate, the front squat and squat clean combined is one of my favorite things, because the front squat to me is a mobility and skill-based movement. If you can get into a really good position, then you can show off your strength. And if you can't, you absolutely cannot. And if you don't have that skill and that mobility, the idea that you are going to reach your potential in the squat clean just makes absolutely no sense. So you really get to teach athletes like the idea of having if they can, having a full grip on the barbell, and why that tension is no different than like screwing your feet into the floor, but for your shoulders. It's sort of the same concept for your T-spine. And being able to teach that in the front squat might get the buy-in of, maybe you hold on to that hook grip when you catch the squat clean at lighter weights, and you start to learn as you make your way through that, again, like there's a lot of grunt work elements too. We want our athletes to move really well, but there's a lot of grunt work that is done with the deadlift and the back squat that just doesn't really translate to the clean unless we can understand the technical aspects. And just doing one or the other doesn't teach those things as much. So I would ask coaches to really lean into the idea of trying to marry the idea of those two movements sort of being the same when it comes to the squat portion, and teaching that as you jump back and forth in movements.
Yeah, and I think the front squat is probably the most accessible squat that also does like an exceptional job of midline work. So even if you are somebody who can't get into like great positions in the front squat, whether the hips, knees, ankles, whatever, are a little tight, I think the benefit to somebody having to like really fight to keep their spine erect and upright while tying in, upper body musculature that's required for the front rack is super helpful. Lots of times the front squat gives, someone who might struggle with depth just because of the positioning on the back, to like kind of the awareness of where they can get to. And then the front squat tends to be a little bit friendlier for somebody's mobility because you can, because the weight's in front of you, there's a counterbalance element. Lots of times that helps with mobility. And then also just like, regardless of who you are, like if you've ever had to do a heavy front squat or a heavy 5x5 front squat, like the demand on your midline is just absurd. And the fact that that's a little bit probably safer, and I'm thinking like your more deconditioned athletes at this point, like maybe a safer, smarter option for a squat versus like a back squat for that athlete, because you can modify that any number of ways with kettlebells, dumbbells, stuff like that, still get a squat movement while still...
Well, and the barbell just falls off of your body if you do it wrong.
Exactly.
In almost every example.
Yeah.
All right. The GPP lift. So basically we have our heavy days where we would be leaning more towards the idea of you get strong when you do 3 to 5 sets of 3 to 5 reps of things. The GPP lift brings in that element of variance where we're looking at, okay, what did the reps and sets look like elsewhere in the program? What were the other movements elsewhere in the program? And this is another way to fill in the gaps. So for, doing a lot of pulling and a lot of squatting, that probably means that in this phase, there's a decent amount of pressing with the GPP lift. And you really just got to keep an eye on, when you're programming, hey, when we're, benching or going overhead or doing any of these things, are we doing 3s and 5s and maybe some 7s and maybe some 10s and things of that nature?
Yeah.
And that keeps things balanced. It keeps people's, bodies healthy. Anytime you over bias a particular movement, you have if we took this too far, there'd probably be more, injuries and things of that nature that pop up. So this is a really good way to get stronger and, eventually get, more mobile, injury prevention, all that good stuff.
Yep, for sure.
So yeah, we did in the summer programming, we had more bench and press. And again, those types of things will continue to be filled in where they need to be when it comes to the GPP lift. Gymnastics bias is the toes to bar. This one's pretty straightforward. A lot of strict upper body gymnastics, a lot of traditional kipping gymnastics. when it comes to bar pull in the phases preceding this, and you being comfortable with holding on to the bar, the pull-up bar the way that you should, and moving your body through space where you're actually controlling your movement and not swinging around is like the foundation of how you get someone at the affiliate level better at toes to bar.
Yeah, I think toes to bar probably gives the widest number of athletes the ability to develop the kip without it being like a serious shoulder injury risk. I've had conversations with athletes and just thought a lot about it in general, about the functionality of something like kipping pull-ups, maybe even more so kipping handstand push-ups for athletes at the affiliate level, and how necessary or not they are for, a well-rounded program. But I think
Especially
toes
the
to bar,
butterfly.
yeah, for sure. The toes to bar, I think, is like, it's kind of like that foundational movement for the kip itself. I know we did some kipping pull-up work, and that was just kind of because it worked nicely with the strict pull-up work that we did. But learning how to kip properly, I think, has its place, and doing it in like a toes to bar where it's so easy to modify that to a knee raise type deal for your less proficient, less skilled athletes. And then like the grip strength kind of training that you can get, the midline work you can get as a more experienced athlete of just doing like a lot of reps with that movement. And it's a good movement to plug into a conditioning piece where you can kind of keep that metabolic demand high, do a moderate skill gymnastics movement in a workout, and still see some improvements. So good movement. You'll see it once a week, whether it's in a skill piece, like kind of standalone chance to work on it, or if you're a more proficient athlete, build some capacity in through volume, and then see that get plugged into conditioning pieces as well.
One good thing when you have the kind of gym where the standard is set on movement from the coaches down to your sort of fire breathers is there's a bit of monkey see, monkey do with movements, right? If you're the only person in the gym doing some kind of wacky shit on the pull-up bar, you're going to notice and other people are going to notice. But when it comes to just a kip, there are ways to like mime a kip where you're not actually actively using your shoulders. And a toe to bar pushes you outside of the typical range of motion that you would get just dangling from the pull-up bar, and you are forced to use your back to actually like push yourself into a position to do a good toe to bar. And really just kind of the first place where someone would really learn, again, how to push back and then how to create momentum, getting into that, hollow arch position. When it comes to your competitors, please go to our YouTube channel and watch some stuff. You're going to have competitors that just because of what they see, I mentioned Victor Hoffer, they might watch Victor do some toes to bar, which look like they would be scored a 10.0, and that makes it not a grip movement. It makes it a hip flexor movement. It's a bit of a problem. So sort of teaching, getting back into the kip, getting the knees up, flicking the feet, pushing the feet back out, the kind of thing that you see most high-level athletes are doing that. But if you want to help your athletes, just in general, get better at the movement, but especially your competitors, if they're trying to crush the open, when the toe to bar becomes a bit more of like an endurance type movement, teach them how to do that properly. All right, bitch work. So we went running in summer 1 and summer 2, and now we are biasing mixed machine, which honestly just means everything else and running. It's the whole gamut. It's not like we're locked in on this particular thing. It's very much a GPP of like, we're going to run, then we're going to row, we're going to bike, sometimes we're going to do both, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think of this like we used to make this a little bit more of a progression, almost like the strength work, and that's like we're going to run, and then we're going to row, and then we're going to bike. And it's like, again, something that looks nice on paper might not be realistic, one, with as far as the constraints of putting together like a well-rounded program at the affiliate level where we have like, an hour to work with, you have limited equipment. And then we also like a combination of feedback and just like observation as us coaches looking at, I just remember we did a phase where it was basically like one day a week was just straight up running. And like, I don't give a shit. Like, I'll fucking program 5x800 meter run, and like, you can choose to come to the gym or not. Part of the job is making sure that like, well, I can trick you into doing 5x800 meter run by saying run 800 meters and then do a
two toes
three and a half wall walks, and like now it's a Metcon. Now you're excited to come to the gym, but
right.
Having those days regularly can get tiring. Instead, thinking about the cardio days, as we would call them, as just being they're the opportunity for basically everybody to play. Not saying that you don't need to be scaling this for certain athletes, but when it's like row bike, when it's run, kettlebell swing, when it, very, very simple borderline engine type movements where it's like, hey, the only limiting factor here is fitness. It's not skill. It's not a heavy barbell. It's nothing like that. It's just like, how hard can you work in your current fitness level? And those are often the workouts that you see like athletes either have the light bulb moment of like learning whether they learned how to pace something properly, or they finally felt like their fitness that they've been working on for the last X number of months like really shine through in a conditioning piece like that. Whatever it happens to be makes those days super useful and super beneficial, and if nothing else are just you can't beat that as far as the simplicity and effectiveness for improving fitness.
Yeah. There's a different vibe in class on those days, I would say. Everyone's kind of parked on the rower. You're in it together, that sort of thing. My screen says 200 calories per hour and yours says 2,000, but we're rowing and breathing real fucking heavy. And
we're both trying real hard.
Yeah, exactly. So again, I'm in a lot of ways, all of this information is going to be helpful for everybody, but I like to sort of speak to someone who's either on the fence or just getting started. Something that you're going to see in the programming every single day is a competitor extra. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. I believe more than anything, this to be a retention tool. Too many gyms have the open gym culture where, some people that would be great members of your community and great to have in class to help set the standard, whether it's personality wise or they're great at a certain thing or whatever, end up in open gym following insert program name here, honestly, even ours. And for the most part, aside from someone who's trying to become a professional athlete or trying to make it to in-person semifinals, like we can deliver a program that's going to help you crush, your local throwdown, that sort of thing, that level, and keep people in class. So basically, you have, if you look at a day's programming, let's say there's a lift and no conditioning piece. There's typically going to be a conditioning piece in the competitor extra. If there is lift and conditioning, probably going to go more on the side of an accessory or a skill movement, that sort of thing. Every week we have one of the 5 days is zone 2 work. And basically what I'm trying to do is I'm looking at the programming and I have a list of the movements that are like 100% have to be good in the open. And whatever stuff Hunter does not program ends up in the competitor extra. So it's either going to end up inside of a Metcon or an interval, inside of bitch work, in a strength. There's a lot of strength. I would say 2 to 4 days a week, there's going to be a strength movement. That's definitely one of the things where an affiliate level athlete sometimes just can't like muster up the they get to the point where they're great at burpees and they're great at, rowing and all these different things, but it can be really challenging to make sure that you're up to speed or sort of up to par on the strength stuff. But again, just having that piece that, probably adds 30-ish minutes, I would say most times, to your local competitor type member to their day, keeps them in the gym, in class. A lot of times there's like these little pods that will form where they're going to do it hopefully after class. Sometimes it is before class, but hopefully after class. And if you give them those gaps to be able to do that again, I believe that's a retention tool. And you're just keeping people, they're paying a premium at the end of the day, not because you got a bunch of fucking echo bikes and nice pull-up bars. They're paying a premium because you're providing a group class, you're providing coaching, you're providing community. That's what's special about coming to your gym and keeping people in there and then saying, hey, we actually have this well-rounded program that's like put together, which, maybe 80% of local competitors will buy into, whereas 20% just want to do their bias. And it's not really anything we can do about that. But it is also, I'll say the last note of the competitor extra, is a really good place to teach athletes to take notes. so that they can improve. So again, this list of movements that you got to be good at isn't as long as you might think. So that means that certain strength sessions are going to rotate through and be the same. Certain skill sessions are. A lot of like metcons and intervals will have the same movements. You might see rope climbs fairly consistently. If athletes start to pay attention to used this weight, I was able to do this many rope climbs in my 1 minute AMRAP, just certain things like that. If they have whatever software you use, or if they kick it old school and they have, a note on their phone, or, take notes in a notebook, that's one of those things where athlete IQ grows exponentially if they're actually paying attention to what they're doing. And some people honestly might just want the extra volume and give them the old thumbs up when they head onto the gym. They're enthusiastic, good for you. But if they're trying to actually get better at competing, this would be a place where I would nudge them to say, hey, it's not just the work, it's understanding the work. We always say on the Misfit Athletics side, like, being a student of the game is kind of mandatory.
Yep. Yeah, and I think it's nice that, again, like you kind of alluded to it, but that competitor extra piece works really well with the rest of the programming. It's not like a separate program on its own. It just, like, the intent there is that that theoretical competitor that you have at your gym, or somebody who wants the extra work, is now able to take class. Like, the class workouts suck in the best way possible, as far as getting fitter. And then you do have that somebody who wants to do something after that, they cool down, they catch their breath after their Metcon, and they want to. Today we had a few athletes out there doing some push jerks. I think it was the 10-8-6-4 push jerk. And, like, again, it works nicely. Those movements we take into account the movements from the rest of the week. So somebody could theoretically do, the competitor extra every day, assuming that they're, recovered well enough and, kind of enhance their fitness gains, their potential.
So at Misfit Athletics is always the question of, do I follow pro or do I follow hatchet? And someone who buys into what we're trying to do at Misfit Athletics, and they go to a Misfit affiliate that may be like, hey, I'm going to go to Open Gym and start following hatchet. We've had, I think, more than one Masters athlete qualify for the CrossFit Games from doing the affiliate program plus competitor extra. So again, like, the idea of being a part of something else might be, and probably is, more powerful than going to do something specifically written for a competitor on your own, in Open Gym. So just something to put out there, and something to let your members know. We have sort of that correlation. We always get to tell people, hey, like, you're not as fit as these people who go to semifinals and they're on hatchet. Same sort of concept. Like, hey, like, you're probably not going to beat person X, Y, or Z that qualified for the crazy age groups at the Masters Games, and they follow the programming. So, like, it's more about what you're putting into the thing, and, how much you're paying attention and all that stuff. All right. We basically just got a handful of notes here, scanning through the program. You also have access to the engine program. Always have the joke built in here. The engine crew are annoying because they kick your ass in engine workouts in class, which means that it works and that they're fit. And Chris does a really good job when he writes this program of, like, again, there's that idea of, Hunter, you alluded to, I'll fucking make you run every week. I don't care. Like, that kind of thing. And then you're like, well, like, buy-in is kind of important, that sort of deal, where when I wrote the engine programming, it was, monostructural conditioning, like, straight up, like, again,
it's going to work. You're not going to like it, but it's going to work.
Exactly. Chris definitely builds in much more buy-in, knows how to trick people into, doing engine through more basic CrossFit movements being mixed in. It's got cool formatting. He has, really specific instructions for the athletes, so that if they are doing straight up monostructural conditioning, they have broader concepts that they can kind of latch their mind onto, that sort of thing. So something that, again, could be a retention tool for members in your gym, just looking for that style of programming, a little bit easier on the body a lot of times than, if they're, not handling 4 or 5 days of super high intensity CrossFit a week really well. And then we do a Sunday engine class here at the gym that's really popular. I think on the weekend, people like to kind of just come in and get some work done, and maybe work for a little bit longer than they normally would in a lot of instances. So we intentionally don't offer that 7th day of programming, because we really like the idea of you guys running, sort of the Monday through Saturday CrossFit, the Sunday engine class, especially considering most athletes are going to hit that 3 to 5 sessions a week and kind of bounce around a little bit.
Yeah. Only thing I'll just say on I think Chris does a great job with the engine program, and each day kind of has a different focus. Say other ways that you can kind of think of using this program. For a while we had a 3-day-a-week program where each day was coached, and now this engine program is so say you do have that Sunday, you're looking for a class to put on a Sunday, you have the engine program, like we said, on every Sunday we do that day 3 workout. We've also got a lot of athletes who like to just follow the engine track, so those are they get input into StreamFit, that's our program partner or programming software, and then members will maybe on a day that maybe they don't want to take class for whatever reason, or they want something relatively straightforward to do on their own in open gym. We'll see athletes pull up the day 2 engine workout, which is, for example, in week 1, it's a row ski bike interval. Super easy to get those machines out there and just get after that. And I would also say this could be, depending on, how far involved you want to get into, naming this stuff for your gym, the popularity of something like High Rocks has gotten pretty significant, and the end, aside from doing CrossFit, which I think is probably the better preparation, is using the engine workouts. There's a lot of them, and it's super easy to say, instead of row ski bike, it's going to be row ski run to get your High Rocks running type stuff in. So there's lots of ways to kind of leverage a free add-on program to give to your members to get more buy-in.
For sure. 3 things that I noticed sort of scanning through. We have this idea of test retest being sprinkled out over a longer period of time. And it's not just based on not having a test retest at the beginning and the end of a phase. We also just have that thing where again, members are not there every single day. So if we give members opportunities over the course of a whole year to check in on certain things, that can be really helpful. So we've got a Hero Watt on September 11th. We've got Isabel in there. We've got 11.5, potentially not a retest for some of your members.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't think I've ever
would
done
be a
that.
retest. Would be a retest for me. I have a vivid memory of that workout because we moved from my garage to Warren Ave during the open, and that was, I believe, the first open workout that I did inside of CrossFit MF, not at my house.
Oh, sick.
That sort of thing. So
looks like a fucking terrible workout.
I mean, you know how that is. It's different now. Right?
Yeah.
People are so much fucking fitter, and athlete IQ back then was crazy. It was all right, I'm going to scoop these toes to bar, and I'm going to jumping reverse curl these cleans, and I'm only going to use my upper body. I'm going to, sort of jump every single time I do a wall ball, that kind of thing. So I can imagine that's going to be, if you know what you're doing, a pretty painful workout. Do you have it up right now? What is it again?
20 minutes, 5 power cleans, 145/100, 10 toes to bar, 15 wall balls.
Yeah, that's bad. That's really
a problem.
Bad.
That's a problem. That's a wall ball problem, actually.
Huh? Yeah. That's actually one where
you need to take
I wonder
4 days off after that.
I wonder if it's more stay unbroken, but figure out the cadence of your transition. Because something happens to a CrossFitter after 12 minutes when they drop a wall ball. It's not a good thing. They ain't picking it back. They're not picking it right back up.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, or is it more moderating the pace of the singles? I know now we're getting more into competitor territory here, but
yeah, I don't know. I don't like it. I'm gonna be sick that day, that's for sure. But
yeah. Last but not least here, we did not originally write a Hell Week. And it kind of warmed my heart a little bit. I talk about how I like a narrative. I like the idea of people getting excited for a specific thing, because otherwise we're kind of just maybe a little bit of Groundhog's Day at a CrossFit gym. So if you can get your people excited about something that just disguises more constantly very functional movements performed at high intensity, then I think that's a good thing. So we had Had a few people that follow the program that were like, hey, where's Hell Week? And you will have the option during phase 1 to insert Hell Week, which is sort of an addition that is meant to be swapped into the program. Correct me if I'm wrong, Hunter.
Yeah, no, you're right.
You're not going to add it to the end. You're going to put it in place of something specific. And that means it kind of fits into the flow of all of the stuff that we're trying to do.
Yep. Yeah. So in week 2 of September, which also happens to be week 2 of the phase, that's kind of convenient. Yeah, the week of Monday, September 8th is where Hell Week
So 6 days from now
is kind of meant to go. And it is important that, like, if your gym is going to do Hell Week, that it needs to be that week, because basically what I did was we published both, so you don't have to do Hell Week. Monday, for example, in the regular, quote, regular class programming, there's some strict press work and then a short run and burpee metcon. In Hell Week, it is a shitty run, shoulder to overhead burpee metcon. Tuesday is front squat and row intervals for class. Hell Week is a spicier relay version, not spicier, just a different relay version of that workout. So basically I just kind of reformatted the week to be beefed up a little bit. Still a great challenge, like either way for athletes. You're going to see if you do Hell Week, it's metcon based, right? There's still a heavy deadlift in there, but it is within a conditioning piece. So, and then also the hero workout white, which was the September 11th hero workout, that was chosen for one, like, nice. It works nicely with our toes to bar progression. It's got some toes to bar in there. And it's like, with all due respect to the hero workouts, lots of times hero workouts are just volume beatdowns on athletes.
It has a very specific intention.
Exactly. There's a very specific purpose for that. I think white is actually one of a few workouts where it's spicy. It's a gnarly workout, but it is a responsible volume of, each movement. Still going to get the stimulus.
Prefer an athlete to be the reason why the workout is bad.
Yeah.
As opposed to, like, you bring that to the equation.
Yeah.
Not like, oh my God, if I literally just do this, I'm in trouble.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, just a fun, again, kind of like you said, Drew, I would say you're more in line. I'm much more of just like just tell me what the fucking work is. Let me just do the work versus like,
yep.
But I
Right.
do understand the value of the narrative and trying to get people excited for it. So Hell Week has a little bit of just kind of a wow factor to it. It's going to suck. It'll get you fit.
Mm-hmm.
That's for dang sure.
True. All right. So I will go first on final thoughts here. Again, getting your athletes excited and having the narrative and having these little pieces of bias to deliver to the people that would actually want it and care about it, I think is important. It's a pretty good segue from just that idea of Hell Week. If things become repetitive or stale, which we don't want, we really rely on variance and things change a lot. But over a long enough time horizon, you might get an 8-year member or whatever who's like, yeah, here we fucking go again. It's I'm gonna have to do toast to bar every week. The idea of a narrative, the idea of we are kind of starting over here and building from a base can be really powerful. And then I just like to look down through here and see things like front squat, squat clean, toes to bar, mixed machine. Like, we're still just doing the thing, from the coaching side. And I guess the other piece here, if you wanted a rallying cry for your coaching staff, is brush up on your knowledge relating to the front squat and the squat clean and the toe to bar. Think about how you would do a skill progression. Think about how you would do a warm up. Think about how you would keep an eye. If you always have the same people coming in at 9 a.m., you keeping an eye on this person. And not only are you helping them in the moment, but you go jot something down on your phone or in a notebook. And when they come back, it's like, hey, remember, we're really working on, pushing back and staying long and getting into that position. And I personally find that type of thing to be really rewarding from a coaching perspective, helping someone make those progressions, make those changes. And that can sort of, be an anecdote to potential Groundhog's Day on the coach's side.
Yeah, I think I was going to go into, why it was cool. This past week, we had like 1 rep max back squat and Fran were in the same week. I was very disappointed that the annual CrossFit Games flu killed me for both of those things. But like the number of Fran PRs, back squat PRs, both in our gym and hearing it from other gyms is really fucking cool. And even talking with some athletes about Fran after having done it, and they're just like, Fran isn't what it's, it was this time. This is the first time I did Fran, and it was like my grip and my upper body that was the limiting factor. And you've talked about this, you and I've talked about it. It's like Fran is a different workout when you don't back squat, 350, 365, 400. We had a couple coaches who, hit the or male coaches hit the 400-pound back squat mark. Some lady we had, on the day, all 4 of our coaches were sub 3 in Fran. 3 of them were under 2.5 minutes in Fran. And it's like, and then we have members who talk about that too, where it's like, yeah, I just like my legs my legs and lungs were less of a factor than my upper body was. And it's like, that just goes to show the progression of people getting fitter. Fran used to be the thing where it was like, I got to fucking call out sick for like the next day. Like I can't go to work today and maybe not tomorrow either if I do Fran. Yeah. And just seeing those things like at the end of a training phase that kind of pay off for athletes, where it's like, you hit a benchmark number on a lift or just an improvement in general, a PR and a Metcon like that is really cool. So I think all that just speaks to just athletes putting in the work and kind of actually putting in the effort to earn their fitness, not just going through the motions.
Yeah, I think I need to do a second round of final thoughts, just because we have the comments that we make about, on the competitor side, this is words on a paper, and unless you go in and work your tail off and execute, nothing's going to happen. And at the affiliate level, I don't want to pigeonhole us here, but if you're good coaches, this is the best program in the world. I truly believe that. So when we get those notes, when we get the pictures of the PRs, there is just this there's this thing where it's like a moment of pride, where it's like the trickle down effect of people who care enough to listen to us and execute and on their own work on their own craft, and then pass it down to members. And there's an element of you needing to potentially, set the example as a coach to inspire and motivate people. And then the athletes are buying in, and they're the ones actually doing the work and getting it done. So we have potentially, again, pigeonholed ourselves a little bit here with the way that we deliver programming and the way that we write programming. But I'm telling you right now that if you are a great coach or aspire to be a great coach, this is the best programming that you can follow. And we have to tip our caps to the coaches who do that, and the affiliate owners who buy into it, and the cultures of these gyms sort of buying into the overall concept, because it definitely works. You can't put your laptop under your pillow and snap your fingers and, be a great affiliate coach, be a great affiliate athlete. It's just not how it works.
Yeah.
Did we do it?
We did it.
Thank you for tuning into another episode of the Misfit podcast. I don't know the last time we got this done in almost under an hour, not under an hour, but almost under an hour. That was fairly quick and succinct. TeamMisfit.com. Click on sign up now. You get a 2-week free trial. Stream Fit, Sugar Wad, Push Press. If you would like a sample of this phase specifically, along with the engine sample, email me, coach@misfitathletics.com. Would love to talk to you about the programming. If you've got any questions in general, you can also email me. If you're looking for our individual programming, click on the link in bio on Instagram, get signed up either on Strivey or Fitter. See you next week.
Later.
Misfits!
All right, you bad tank bunch of misfits.
You're a scrappy little misfit, just like me.
Biggest bunch of misfits I ever set eyes on.